with so many patriots. Bryce, thank you for those words and that introduction. Delegate Goldmark, thank you for being here. You know who this election's for? It's generally folks who are maybe in college or younger. And with the permission of the parents who may be here with their children, if there's anybody, say, age 17 or younger, could you come up here and stand with us so folks could realize who this campaign's for, if it's okay with your parents? Folks, this is who this campaign's for. It is whether or not they're going to have the same opportunities to achieve their dream, their American dreams here in our country that we had growing up. And I stay here if you would, because I just want people to understand what's at stake. It's your future. And there is one person who's a little over 15. She's got a great Ronald Reagan photo on there. Government's first duty is to protect the people, not run their lives. Which reminds me of a cattle farmer, small business owner in Bedford. And when I asked, I said, what would you like to see the government do? And he said, I'd like to see the government get off my back and out of my pockets. And we're pretty close to that point of view. Folks, there is a lot at stake in this election. It is your future and the future of other young people. The job market, as you well know, anybody who's a parent who has a son or daughter in college or recently graduated from college, you know how tough a job market this is. And you hear folks up in Washington saying, oh, their expectations are too high. What would you like to do someday? You want to be a pilot. What would you like to do? If you figured it out yet, at age 8. You don't know yet. What would you like to do?
I don't know.
Not yet? Not yet? Well, he wants to be a pilot. The point is whatever your imagination is, whatever your goals are in America, that's all you ought to be limited to, is what your imagination, your hard work, and your efforts. What do you want to be, since Connell, you can make 4,400 calls in one day?
I'd like to stay in politics.
You want to stay in politics? Well, good. You have a great future in that. Right. You certainly know what it takes to win. And so do you all know what it takes to win. This young man made 4,400 calls in a 13 working hour day. He's made over 7,000 calls in this election cycle. Now, I'm not asking each and every one of y'all to do that, but many of you have been working. You're putting bumper stickers on your vehicles, you're emailing, you're contacting your friends, and really you're going to be the ones whose hard work so far, but it's going to be needed even more than ever during these next 80 days to make sure that not just Spotsylvania and Fredericksburg and Stafford County come in strong force, but how you do is going to be pivotal. Bryce Reeves' race, I remember my very last stop before the election was at Bryce Reeves' office, and I kept calling until I could get somebody live. You don't always get somebody live, right? In those calls. I said, until I can get a hold of somebody who'll say, yes, I'm going to vote for Bryce Reeves, I'm not leaving. And I thought the 17th senatorial district was going to be key, and indeed it was. And you won by a couple hundred votes. That's right. And so all of that, this area was pivotal in the state Senate. This area in Virginia will be obviously essential in who's in a majority in the U.S. Senate. And folks, you look at what's going on in Washington, and there's just constant challenges and lack of decision making in Washington that is really harming our lives. And just the recent one, Bryce asked all the veterans to raise your hands, and we thank you for your service. But here, what is the federal government doing now because of the latest failure of leadership are these disproportionate, devastating cuts to the paramount responsibility of the federal government, which is national defense. And leadership's about setting priorities and getting others to work together to achieve those goals. As governor, I thought education and law enforcement were the top responsibilities of state government, and the way you pay for it is with a vibrant, strong economy. And we worked together across party lines and cut taxes and had major reforms. And it was difficult, but that's the kind of leadership you need. Those people say, what do we need to do to get this country moving in the right direction? My opponent, Tim Kaine, says that this deal they made last year was the right thing to do. This was in a debate we had a few weeks ago. And I said, the right thing to do. The right thing to do to who? My goodness, this is going to adversely affect our military readiness, and over 200,000 good-paying jobs here in Virginia are at risk. And it's not just Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, there's jobs here in this area. And it's just so wrong to be doing this. Now what they're saying, some on the other side, is, well, we need to now raise taxes on job-creating small businesses. Let me be very clear. The men and women serving in our armed forces should never be used as a political bargaining tool to raise taxes on job-creating small business owners. You're here on this Saturday, and you're going to be working today and in the days to come up to November 6th. For me, you'll be working for Eric Cantor, you'll be working for the Romney-Ryan team. And by the way, gosh, this is a week from last week. I was with them in Norfolk, Ashland, which they consider themselves the center of the universe, and then on to Manassas. Each and every one of these rallies got better and better and better. There's a real excitement. There's a real energy in that campaign, in ours and in others. Because I see, as you do, people recognizing that this is going to be a pivotal election determining the future of our country. All of us envision a better future than what we're having to endure these days. Bryce and Mark were talking about the dangers to you and your future. You all remind me of a young boy. I was at a Tea Party type rally in the Valley a few years ago, and it was an 8-year-old, and he had a sign that said, "So, don't spend my future." That's what's happening. We're losing control of our own destiny, and actually vulnerable to outside forces. One, because of our dangerous levels of debt, and secondly, because of our counterproductive energy policies. Now, what are we going to do? This isn't just tenacious defense against bad ideas. We can do things that get this country going in the right direction. We're the ones who can really make sure that this is a land of opportunity for all, and have a federal government that is efficient, effective, and accountable, and focus on its primary constitutional responsibility of national defense. And by the way, that also means keeping our promises to our veterans and their families for the benefit of their lives. What else we can do? We can unleash our American energy resources. And I've heard from Virginians, and Susan has as well, and Susan was just down here earlier this week in Fredericksburg and on up to Occoquan and all. At any rate, Virginians from the coal fields to our coast are ready, willing, and able to provide America with the energy to power our economy. And what's happening with EPA outlawing coal is going to affect all of us, not just the coal fields and the railroads, but any of us who use electricity. And we have the Obama-Kane approach with this cap and trade energy tax scheme, and they're having EPA put it in by that unelected, unaccountable bureaucracy. Everything is against us, and including on our coast. And on day one, folks, if you hire me on to be your U.S. Senator, I'm introducing a bill to allow us in Virginia to produce oil and natural gas off our coast. And with Mitt Romney in the White House, we'll have a president who's not saying no to Virginia. He'll be saying yes. And that's a solution to improve people's quality of life, have more affordable electricity and fuel and food, and make our country much more secure, more competitive, and indeed, we'd keep our money here in the United States of America. So that's why I want to provide that leadership and energy. The other thing we need is we need to rein in this overreaching, overspending federal government. There's an urgency for action in so many of these areas, and one of the first things that needs to be done is repeal this health care tax law. It is an impediment for small businesses hiring. It is terrible for seniors, where doctors are not going to see Medicare patients. We just had a great veterans meeting at the VFW facility over in Dale City up in Prince William County. And this affects veterans as well. The payments to Medicare patients affect then TRICARE. And so this ends up reverberating, not just for civilians, but also for those benefits we said we wanted to keep our promises to our veterans. We also need, in my view, to have a tax code that is more simple, more fair, and more competitive. What we want to do is reinvigorate the entrepreneurial spirit of our country, have the right economic policies, have reasonable regulations, productive energy, and empowering education. And if we do that, we can together send a message to the world that America is open for business again. That's our mission. For you all and all our fellow Virginians, 2012 is our generation's rendezvous with destiny. It is our time for choosing. As my father would say, the future is now. The future will be decided on November 6th. But what happens on November 6th is going to be decided in what we do in the next 80 days. You just don't come to November 6th and think, oh gosh, people are naturally going to show up. It's going to need all of you all, and working with Brad, Rush, and others, this is a team effort. When you're calling for Romney, you're calling for me, you're calling for Eric. All of us are working together as a team. Not just here, but in Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, South Side, Southwest, the Valley, everywhere. It is important that you just let people know what's the relevance of this campaign and how that'll affect them at their kitchen tables. If somebody uses electricity, by the way, they ought to be on our side, unless they want to pay higher electricity bills. If somebody drives a car, and I like to stop at the Wawa here, it's much lower prices than what it is further north. Although it's even better at exit 104 at the flagship junction. Regardless, if somebody uses gasoline, if they drive a car, whose side should they be on? Unless they want to pay higher fuel costs. Right now, folks are paying $30 more on average every time they fill up compared to what it was in January of 2009. If somebody pays taxes, they ought to be on our side, unless they want to pay higher taxes.
They say they do.
Well, the ones who want to pay higher taxes probably won't be with us. But those who don't want to have higher taxes are going to be on our side. If somebody's working for a living, or if they want a job, they ought to be on our side, because our ideas produce more job opportunities. And for anybody who cares about the future of their children or their grandchildren, they ought to be on our side. So what you all do, whether it's the women's clubs, whether you're Tea Party folks, whether you're regular Republicans, whether you're irregular independents, if you pay taxes, use electricity, drive a car, or care about the future of our country, you ought to be on our side. And so welcome everyone to join with us. And here is a wonderful area. This Fredericksburg area loves history, and has always been important in the history of our country. People are going to be watching Virginia. Virginia is going to decide who the next president of the United States is. Both sides understand that. People also understand that whoever wins this Senate seat is going to determine whether Harry Reid continues as majority leader, passing no budgets, or we have common sense conservatives. And obviously we want to increase the numbers in the House of Representatives. So my friends, the future's in your hands. It's going to be determined by all of y'all here. You did it in the 17th Senate District for Virginia. You're going to do it from America, for America, because everyone's going to be watching Virginia on election night. And I'm going to be smiling, because I know that not only are we winning, but all Americans are going to say, look how they're voting there in Spotsylvania County, and Stafford, and Fredericksburg. Those Virginians are standing strong for freedom, and America will begin to ascend once again. Thank you all. Let's get on.